Chapter 1 Working of the Constitution. Introduction. Constitution regards every individual as equal before the law. In India, all citizens above the age of 18 are given the right to vote irrespective of their caste, creed, gender and religion. The Right to Information Act ensures transparency and accountability. Government has adopted several policies for minorities to provide them with opportunities. Many acts are implemented to create favorable environment for protection of women. The Constitution brings about change according to the changing conditions of the society. The Parliament has the power to initiate the change. Political maturity. 1. The essence of representative system is to integrate the principles of democracy in actual practice. 2. The Indian people have direct representation in the Parliament, state legislature and local government. 3. Holding free and fair elections at regular intervals is an important indicator of India's successful democracy. 4. The increasing participation of the people in the political process and political competition shows that Indian democracy has become successful to a great extent. Right to vote. After independence, Indian Constitution granted adult suffrage by giving the equal right to vote to both men and women above the age of 21 years. The voting age was later reduced from 21 to 18, which led to the following effects. A. It gave an opportunity to the young generation to participate in politics. B. It made India the largest democracy in the world. C. India has the largest number of voters compared to any other democratic nation. D. It brought quantitative as well as qualitative changes as new political parties are emerging with the active support of young voters. E. Such new parties represent various expectations of people and compete in the political sphere. Decentralization of democracy. Decentralization of power is of significance for democratic government. It controls the misuse of power and also creates opportunities for political participation for the common people. The directive principles of state policy included the provisions for democratic decentralization. Such provisions regarding empowering of the local self-governments makes democratic governance a reality. Right to Information. RTI 2005. 1. Citizen empowerment is important for a democracy like India. 2. Increased communication between citizens and government helps in strengthening democracy and building trust between them. 3. The Government of India gave the right to information, RTI 2005, to the citizens of India to create transparency and accountability, which are the hallmarks of great governance. 4. Right to information has made the government more transparent and reduced the element of secrecy in the working of the government. Social justice and equality. Social justice means removing those social conditions which are responsible for injustice and insisting one quality for all individuals. The principles of justice and equality aims at ending social discrimination based on caste, religion, language and gender, place of birth, race, etc., and giving equal opportunities to all. In order to establish justice and equality, efforts must be made at all levels of society. Government's efforts and policies on this front are also very important. Policy of Reservation of Seats, Prevention of Atrocities Act, provisions for minorities, laws relating to women, and provisions for their representation are some of the efforts made by Government of India towards establishment of social justice. Policy of Reservation of Seats. 1. Policy of reservation of seats is meant for those sections of the society which have been deprived of education and employment opportunities for a long period of time. 2. Accordingly, some seats are reserved for scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and backward classes in the field of educational institutions and government services. Prevention of Atrocities Act. 1. Prevention of Atrocities Act is an act enacted by the Parliament of India on 11 September 1989. This is an important act for establishing social justice and equality. 2. This act prevents any injustice against the people belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, and any act of atrocity committed against them is liable for punishment. 3. The government has adopted several policies to provide them with the opportunities for education and employment. Provisions for minorities. 1. Indian Constitution has made several provisions for the protection of the minorities. 2. Dowry Prohibition Act. Against Sexual Harassment, Domestic Violence Prohibition Act are some important provisions which created favorable environment for women and securing their development. 3. Indian Constitution prohibits discrimination on the basis of caste, religion, race, language, and region. 4. It is comprehensive provision which fundamentally protects the right to equality, freedom, right against exploitation, and cultural and educational rights. Laws relating to women and provisions for representation. 1. In the post-independence period, efforts were made for empowering women. 2. The right to have an equal share in the property of the father and husband, Dowry Prohibition Act, Act Against Sexual Harassment, Domestic Violence Prohibition Act are some important provisions which created favorable environment for protection of freedom of women and securing their development. 3. The Act of Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence is an important step in the direction of democracy. 4. This act rejected traditional forms of domination and authoritarianism and expanded the scope of Indian democracy to make it inclusive in true sense. 5. This act underlines the need to protect the dignity and self-esteem of women. Implementation of such acts by the court has resulted in protection of honor and dignity of women. Role of Judiciary. 1. The judiciary in India has played an important role in strengthening democracy. 2. It helps in achieving the objectives of social justice and equality. 3. The judiciary has always taken into consideration the fundamental objectives of the Constitution. 4. The judiciary gave Parliament the power of amending the Constitution but cannot alter the basic structure of the Constitution. 5. The protection provided to the citizens by fundamental rights in the Constitution has been made more meaningful through various decisions of judiciary. The features of good governance are: 1. Accountable, responsible government. 2. Effective and efficient government. 3. Responsive government. 4. Transparency in working of the government. 5. Justice and all-inclusive development. 6. People's participation in the governing and decision-making process.